This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of another purge of the BS, sanctioned by the First Amendment. Are authorized for use during this purge. All weapons are restricted. Government officials have not been granted immunity from the purge of the BS and shall undoubtedly receive the smoke. Commencing at the sound of the gong, any and all BS, especially unnecessary goofiness, will be purged without prejudice. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be available, but they will be busy because they too will be watching the purge of the BS. Blessed be those who have already been victims of some BS. May God be with you all.
I'm sorry, let me give you a little more volume. Before we get started, I wanted to basically give a special shout because of the time of year. I want to give a special shout to all the fathers out there. Got Father's Day coming up this weekend, so, and I actually mean fathers, not ladies that want to say that they're the mother of the father. I have absolutely no respect for that. But for the real fathers out there, I want to give y'all a salute. And as I get this episode started, I definitely wanted to highlight that. So if you're a dad, a real dad, and you're in the comments, special shouts to you. So as we get started, I'm just going to go right in to this first clip. I got in trouble for a clip, and it was a different type of trouble, but I want y'all to see the clip, hear the clip. We're going to chat about the clip, and then we're going to move into the next clip, okay? So let's see what we got. All right, y'all ready? With that, let's purge. All right, guys, let me move this scene over here real quick. Let y'all get this quick clip in for you over here. So I got into not so much of a debate, a discussion regarding fathers and their children. Okay, we're not going to touch on this for long, but we are going to cover it because I think it's a very important conversation to have. And Quanell X, who is this gentleman here on the screen, who I have a lot of respect for, by the way, and at some point I'm going to find a way to have him on, like his opinions, like the fact that he stands on business, and I've seen him show up for people who were going through an issue, and they weren't just black people. I've seen him show up for people of different races if they were in a situation where something was, I think he kid that was locked up in a house for 20 years, panic or something. It was a lot. I've seen him jump out there, but he's on Fox Soul now. He does this little show where he argues with this other guy named Charles. I don't really know Charles, but I know this Quanell X guy. And I just wanted to highlight this clip. So if you know Quanell X, tell him I want to holler at him, okay? Tell him I want to have a quick conversation. I think opinions are nice and strong. He represents the strong, masculine black male. I haven't seen him in any scandals yet. You know how that goes. They dig it up when they really want to get rid of you. So I guess because he's not super big yet, they ain't gonna bother him yet. Get too big, watch what they try to do to you, Quanell. So good luck out there. But I wanted everybody to hear this clip. Make sure it's got volume here.
Single fathers who raise young boys, those young men are less likely to go into the criminal justice system than single mothers who raise single boys. Agree. So Charles, why is it that when these boys become a certain age, we just don't send them to their fathers?
Is because the fathers aren't participating. And
Charles,
you're lying to our
Charles,
viewers.
no, you are
by
lying
saying,
on
no,
fathers.
I'm not.
You're lying on fathers.
There
Charles,
are too many
most
fathers that walk
want to
away.
participate. No, most fathers want to
It's
participate.
simply not
most
true.
fathers want to be involved. Most fathers want to spend time with their children. But the problem is, most fathers don't want to deal with the personal drama and the personal vindictiveness of a mother who's scorned.
You can always make an excuse not to raise your child.
You got good fathers, Charles, that'll fight like hell for their children, Charles.
There are some great
and the only
fathers.
thing that they did wrong was find a new woman. There are a lot of men who want to be involved that are being called deadbeat dads, no good dads. And if you really investigated it, you will see those men are not deadbeat. They're not sorry men. It's just that they got to put up with so much bullshit from the mother to where they run away in depression.
There's always an excuse not to raise your child.
And I agree.
But a real
every
man,
father should be involved.
A real man climbs every hurdle. But the truth is that most men don't have
hurdles. But why should every man
just
have to climb the hurdles of a vindictive mother?
They don't.
But they do.
Most men,
tens of thousands of men.
The problem is,
of men do it every day.
One-parent households with non-participatory father, it's the dad that chose to roll.
Don't give up. Keep fighting, brothers.
Okay, so I'm hoping y'all heard that. I'm hoping y'all caught what the gentleman was saying. And I just wanted to make it a point, because we are getting ready, that I wish that we had all of this outrage and anger and mobilization when it came to a problem that we've already identified as an issue. Involvement of fathers, and most specifically, the fathers that actually want to be in their children's lives, ones that are actually trying to maintain contact and maintain the relationship and still be there to help with school and whatever they can, showing up to events, making sure that they show up for whatever visitations, whatever. But the ones that are actually trying out are normally the ones that get the worst problems. A guy told me one time, it was a quote that said, best fathers get the worst baby mothers. That's it. That's what it said. So always really interesting to hear that, because I've known some guys that literally don't do anything for their kids, and nobody's bothering them. But then there's guys out here really trying to do the damn thing. I'm one of them, and there's a constant resistance. That's not just. And here's the funny part: it's not just the other parent. The resistance is coming from the court system, the school system, hell, even the police. You can wave court orders in the air all you want. They already have an opinion. You're a father. You're marginalized. You're not useful. Pay your child support. Shut up. That's what they want. Or don't pay it, and we'll lock you up. And then we'll keep you locked up till you pay it, but you can't pay it because you're locked up. So that's a really interesting little spin they put. I don't know how many women are locked up for child support. I doubt there's many, because most times when there is a situation like that, fathers just don't do all that. We just don't do all that. Court wants to do that, they do that. I'm just going to be honest with you. Fathers have a tough road. And I'm highlighting this because this is my platform. There's a few thousand people that come past this channel, and a lot of times we talk about politics and stuff like that, and I'll touch on my politics segment, as I do. But what I do want to also highlight is behind all of the fanfare of being online, people have real lives. So when I hear fathers and going through these struggles, sometimes I identify with them personally. Why that clip from Quanell really resonated with me. Because I and a lot of fathers are constantly fighting against these systems just to be a parent. In a society where it's been established multiple times the importance of fathers. So why should fathers have to go through so much to be fathers? That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. We got proven statistics that say this person being involved in a child's life is a net positive for society. Forget just the child. It's a net positive for black culture. It's a net positive for everyone. But yet those same people are marginalized and ostracized from their own children's lives. If you ask me the why on it, it's just so they can keep the prison pipeline going, because that's where a lot of these kids end up. And they need somebody to be a good candidate for that. So they start by marginalizing the one power position that they know can keep line, which is their fathers. Not taken away from mothers. Y'all are great too. But it takes two to tango, as they say. And this dance of life, if you fall down and bust your knee, you will not be dancing anymore. So this other clip here, this gentleman does this kind of a satire on being a baby daddy. Now, understanding this, there is a difference between a baby daddy and like a ex-husband. Let's say that. You were married to a woman, y'all had some kids, and then y'all divorced later. It's disrespectful for anybody in that situation to be called a baby daddy or baby mama, okay? We're just gonna put that out there. You can hate me for it all you want, but if you were married to the person and y'all had kids, it's ex-husband, child's father or mother or ex-wife. A title has been earned because that person did spend some time with you and put up with your stuff. So it's disrespectful to call an ex-wife a baby mama or an ex-husband a baby daddy. They're two different roles. Baby daddy just literally means that, the daddy of a baby, not somebody who actually put some time and invested into life. That's a whole different role. Now, granted, most times that doesn't help later. Like, no matter what you did during the marriage, once you're divorced, people just hate each other. It's like a natural thing. I've seen a few couples that co-parent well, but in a general sense, it's like, that's a unicorn. I got one friend out of all my friends, and I don't have a bunch of friends, but I got a few of them, right? A lot of them have been through the process. And I'd say only one of them that I know of has a working relationship with his ex. And I say working only because they don't argue about stuff. Pays his little money, you know, and the kids when he can. There's no real like specific visitation, like a court order thing, but it's like they set it up and they agreed to it, and they stuck to it, and they were both involved in school events and whatever, you know, they were able to co-parent. And I've seen that happen once or twice in my life. So I know it's possible. But the great majority of people don't have that. They just don't. So I'm gonna let y'all see this guy's clip real quick. It's actually pretty funny, so check this out. Hold up, where is the volume? You have to have the volume. You don't have the volume. Hey, make sure you hit the like button. Stop playing around when you come in here. Hit the like button. We're on our last day of restriction. So we'll see what kind of reach we get today. It's not going to be all that, but I already know what's going on, and we're going to talk about it. So let's check this clip out.
I'm a baby daddy. I took my daughter's mother to court to fight for my right to be a father, and guess what happened? Yeah, I get to fight some more later on down the road to be a baby daddy. I'm a baby daddy. I complain about child support all the time because I really wanted to support my child on my own time. But they take money out of my paycheck so that baby mama can go on multiple vacations all the time, and I get to sit at home with my daughter. I'm a baby daddy. I complain a lot about child support and wanting more time with my daughter, but it doesn't matter. All I'm doing is bitching to the world because no one really gives a shit.
Ain't that the truth?
I'm a baby daddy. Yeah, child support does suck, but it's for my daughter, and those vacations, and the nails, and the brand new car, and all of those nice new clothes. But I'm a baby daddy, so I wear the same clothing all the time because I can't afford clothing. I'm a baby daddy. Because I bitch and complain so much, I get taken back to court, and restraining orders are thrown on me because I complain about how I wanted to be a father and that child support is abuse. I'm a baby daddy. Yeah, everybody does tell me that I need to go fight some more in court, but what I've learned over the years is all I'm doing is wasting money on a court system that doesn't really care about me. I'm a baby daddy. Yeah, I am called a narcissist because, well, I am a baby daddy. And all baby daddies are narcissists.
And abusive.
I'm a baby daddy. And one day, my daughter is going to find out the truth about everything.
Yep.
And baby mama's going to be really mad. And it's just going to work out that way. I'm a baby daddy. In the future, since I stuck around and paid my child support and played by the rules in the game, I'll most likely be able to be a grandfather.
Aww.
And I'll be involved in my daughter's life in the future because I never gave up. I never quit fighting, even though everybody in the world wants me to quit fighting and give up.
The struggles that men go through to have to fight for their children is a struggle that women will never, ever have to go through. Because in the eyes of the law and the courts, women or mothers are supposedly the better parent. Well, guess what? Just because you got full custody doesn't make you the better parent. And these women, they hold on to so much resentment because, oh my God, I had them all week. Take your fucking kids, blah, blah, blah. I do everything. But they move away so these fathers can't even be involved every single day in the day-to-day. And now it's his fault for not being involved enough. And I always wonder if you take child support off the table completely, where women are not getting paid to keep their children, would they even want them in the first place? I'm going to tag this creator below. I hope you guys can go show him some support, because even though this is meant to be funny and satire, it's actually...
That's a great question. I'm going to pull a couple of y'all. Bring that back just a
in the day-to-day, and now it's his fault for not being involved enough. And I always wonder if you take child support off the table completely, where women are not getting paid to keep their children, would they even want them in the first place?
That's the question. That's the question. That's a great question. I'm gonna add this poll here. I just want to put it in here. All right, let's see what y'all think. If child support was not part of the option, would women, in a general sense, really want to keep children from their father? And the reason why I ask it that way is because anybody who's been part of the child support system knows money is time. So the more the child is away from the father, the more child support the mother would, or whichever parent, whoever's doing it. So if you have the kids, you know, more than half of the year with no other involvement, nobody else actually taking them for visitation and stuff like that, you get a much higher child support amount because you have to deal with that stuff day to day. We have a bi-weekly kind of thing where kids are at another parent's house every other week or something like that. It breaks it down a little bit. Have like a 1 week on, 1 week off where you have shared custody. A lot of cases, there's no child support paid. So I think that we need to be honest about it. The child support system was not designed to rekindle relationships or build strong bonds in families. Child support system was intended to pull money. So this woman said in the video, just because you get custody doesn't normally mean, or doesn't always mean, that you are the better parent. I need you to understand the reason why she's saying that is because when they're looking at the child support guidelines, they're looking at whichever parent makes more money. The parent that makes more money would be more apt to have to pay child support, and the court system would have to take more because that parent makes more. It's a percentage-based guideline. So if you got 20% of $20,000 is way less than 20% of $100,000. You know what I'm saying? So when they're looking at these paperworks initially, now this is the initial. Make sure y'all understand it. Initially, when they're doing this, they're simply looking at, we can get more money by taxing this person versus the other. That's a known fact. So unless we can find a really good reason to not do that, it's in the court's best interest financially to have this person be non-custodial and this person be custodial. That's why you have a custodial parent that's on government assistance, but then the non-custodial parent is making 60, 70, 80 grand a year. Not a lot, but just, living okay, doing better than the other parent. And for some reason, the court never says, let's send the kid with the parent that financially has the ability to take care of that child on their own. For some reason, they never do that, at least not initially. It might happen later, but there's some other factors that'll go into it in order to make that adjustment. I'm only speaking from experience. I've been in that system and still am in that system. I spent the last 20 years dealing with the family court system. And the reason why is because I love my kids. And I want to be there in their lives. And I want them to get every piece of resource from me emotionally, intellectually. I want them to get as much from me as they can. And the only time to really give that to them, the only way to give that to them is by being with them, speaking to them, communicating with them, spending time. Sending a check just go to an account that their mother has. And so it's up to the mother to purchase something to say, hey, I got this with your dad's child support. Ain't nobody ever gonna say that shit. So dad doesn't get a lot of credit. Dad doesn't get a lot of credit. And a lot of people will even lie and say to their child that their father is not paying child support when he actually is. Because it's like they want the kid to hate the father. That's called parental alienation. We'll get into that in another episode. But I see in the poll that was done, 100% of people, at least on this channel, 100% of people have said that if child support, as it's normally set up, was not on the table because of the time situation, that most women, and this is my opinion as well, wouldn't keep the child from their father. They'd be like, take them. There's no benefit to me keeping them from you. There is literally a benefit keeping the child from their other parent. And I'm saying the other parent, but I'm talking about fathers right now because I've never been a mother, okay? But I have been a father multiple times. And I've gone through this family court situation myself multiple times. And I've seen some things that you would not believe. Some things I can't share right now because I'm in active litigation, but I'll let you know how that ends when that's over and done. But nonetheless, I want you guys to take this with you. Father's Day is like the least promoted holiday in America. Nobody cares about Father's Day. You get a tie at best. And honestly, fathers don't even care. Like my dad, he don't even care. As long as I call him and just say Happy Father's Day, that's all he wants. He doesn't need me to buy him a gift. He doesn't need nothing like that. He just needs the respect of me honoring him as my father by calling him and saying Happy Father's Day. That's all fathers need. We don't need much. It's about respect. And a lot of the stuff, if you respected the other parent, you wouldn't keep the child from them. If you respected that person you decided to lay down with, have a whole baby with, you wouldn't keep. You ain't gonna have no man constantly asking to talk to their kid, and then you bugging when the child talks to their other parent, like, you can't talk to him. Why? That's my parent. Just because they're your ex-spouse doesn't mean that they don't still have a value in your child's life. So I'm gonna get past that because it's such a dismal freaking topic. But I just wanted to ask the question. I just, because a lot of people don't know about how child support is set up. And in most cases, the man in the house is the person that is working and making more. In most cases. Now, of course, there's some cases where the woman is making more money. But in, let's just say 7 out of 10 cases, the gentleman is making more than the woman. And so that's why most times it's beneficial financially for the court system to put men on child support, not women. Unless, like I said, that woman's making more money than the man. So it's just, like I said, it's a simple thing. The simple thing that we just need to understand is the system was not set up actually help raise the kid. It was set up to pull money and become a financial burden for someone, a financial windfall for someone else, and basically just waste the time of the parents. If you go to court, and I'm getting ready to close this segment out, go to court as a parent, they will have you take the same stupid ass parenting class 3 or 4 times. Every time you go back to court, they tell you to take the same class. Obviously, this class ain't working because we back. But the class costs $80 or so, depending on which one you do. It's like a 4-hour one, you got a 6-hour one, whatever it is. But it costs money to take a class about being a parent. And it's virtual. Not even a person to talk to. So they get money that way. So when you get to court, just understand the court is there. This is a business. That's why they get upset if you miss court dates. That's why they got court fees and costs. It's a money grab. So if you can work that shit out between the two people, please do. Court system don't mean you well. They don't. And their little court orders only mean something while they're in court. I know that sounds crazy, but you'll get a court order and then a person can see the court order, totally go against it. And what can you do? It's a civil crime. They won't go to jail for not letting you see your kid. At best, you might get some like makeup time. So let's say you get denied your kid for an extended period of time. You get some makeup time. So let's say it's a bunch of makeup time. Like you get a couple months, right? Guess what you still got to do during the makeup time? You still got to pay child support to the parent who's giving you the child. So they're just at home collecting a check for a couple of months while you're still having to take care of that kid every day, trying to make up for time that they took from you. It's a nasty, diabolical system. Diabolical. But anyway, special shouts to the folks stopping in. She Cooks and Roasts. I see you in the chat. Thank you very much for stopping in here. Make sure you hit that like button. Al Bond in the chat. We're going to be linking up Saturday. Me and Al Bond. We're going to stop by a couple of things. I'm not going to give all of it away, but we're going to go and be part of the public for a little bit. After my stream the other day about IRL streaming, I was able to talk to you guys, and you got me a little more, pumped up and a little more confident about being out in the public and streaming there. So I'm going to give it a shot. That's this weekend. But special shouts to IMZ, Cat, and whoever else. Now, like I said, don't be afraid. I understand that the reach is a little low on the channel right now, but it's all good, okay? All good. This is supposed to be our last day of restriction, right? And I'm speaking Pig Latin because I had to teach my AI that yesterday. So, I didn't say that word. Let's no longer use the term Alpha Indigo, okay? For those that know military jargon, let's no longer use Alpha Indigo. Apparently, Alpha Indigo gets people, okay? We're going to get into that in the next. But I wanted to start with that piece because other part. Oh, it's simple. So I'm going to bring y'all into this next segment. I'm talking about fathers in the beginning part here because I believe that fathers have a responsibility that's a little bit further than just paying some checks. And there's some things coming up this weekend that I really want everybody to pay attention to first and foremost. But if you got kids or young people or family who plan on involving themselves in these protests, I think that you, as fathers, we need to be out there protecting, make sure that none of our kids and anybody gets hurt. If you want to express your opinion, that's an American right. I think you should exercise it because if you don't use the rights, you lose the right. So I'm all for that. I'm not for no violence. And a lot of these things can be stopped when you got your father around saying, sit your ass down and stop. But because there is a call to action and I've been, I don't have enough backing. We did the No Nike 90 protest. Nobody wanted to push on that. Nobody wanted to help out with that. All the black people, nobody, hey, I need some Air Force Ones. I can't not buy a Nike, but we're expected to now be out here protesting. So I'm just going to say right now, until I see the society start to have all this extra energy that they be talking about, all this extra energy for the fathers that are being kept out of their lives and therein contributing to the downfall of society, that's a real problem. Not saying immigration and deportation is not also a problem, but what I'm saying is, if we were dealing with that father situation with all this energy, maybe we wouldn't have such a screwed up society in the first place. Maybe. I'm just saying, if we try it and it doesn't work, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen if we went to bat for fathers? What is the worst that could happen? What, kids might get raised correctly? Families might stay intact? Uh-oh. They don't want that, do they? Nonetheless, I'm going to do the call to action thing because it was sent to me. Now that I've become this internet person, I guess you want to call it. It's really, let me make sure everybody understands. This channel is solely for the purpose of creating awareness and generating revenue for fair chance hiring initiatives and technical training. That's what I do. Trying to help people with records get jobs. So all of the contributions, people that are buying the shirts, that's what you're supporting. It's not just this wonderful tie that I have, okay? So don't feel like that. You're helping somebody else by helping me. I'm here to help them by helping y'all. One big happy family, Purge Collective. So I'm not about protesting, but I will be at a protest sometimes just to see what's up. But I'm not about burning cars. That's dumb to me. It solves nothing. But if you want to exercise your voice, exercise it safely. And remember, this weekend is Father's Day weekend, so don't be up to no goofiness where everybody's under curfew and can't take your dad out to eat, okay? So I'm going to play Gavin Newsom's thing. It's a little long, so I don't think I'm going to play the whole thing. But let's see what we got.
A few words about the events of the last few days. This past weekend, federal agents conducted large-scale workplace raids in and around Los Angeles. Those raids continue as I speak. California is no stranger to immigration enforcement, but instead of focusing on undocumented immigrants with serious criminal records and people with final deportation orders, a strategy both parties have long supported, this administration is pushing mass deportations, indiscriminately targeting hardworking immigrant families, regardless of their roots or risk. What's happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before. On Saturday morning, when federal agents jumped out of an unmarked van near a Home Depot parking lot, they began grabbing people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb. A similar scene played out when a clothing company was raided downtown. In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested, a 4-year-old girl taken, families separated, friends quite literally disappearing. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different. What then ensued was the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral began. He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose. As the news spread throughout LA, anxiety for family and friends ramped up.
I got to pause that for a second. Is anybody in the chat or on the channel right now in California? I know we got a lot of East Coast folks because that's most of the actual viewers here. But is anybody physically in California? I do have at least one person I can call, but I know it's a little early out there right now. But I'm just wondering, so far, how do we mitigate this? I showed you guys the other day, some people saw it on my Facebook, about the recruiting that they were doing for some of these protests. And they were recruiting people for anywhere between $6,000 to $12,000 a week. And I said, that's some pretty good money. I ain't gonna lie. Now, I might not be the guy to burn the car. I'm not that dude. But for $12,000, oh, I'll show up. I'll sing your little songs too. I'll sing your songs. I'll hold your little sign, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's not morally against something, like if we're talking about, violating minors, like, okay, I'm not going to stand for that. But if you give me something I can stand on, man, $12,000 a week is good money. So the problem that I'm having is maybe we didn't need the National Guard. Maybe not. I don't know. But to downplay this situation as if there was nothing going on there, that was what was confusing me at first. They were on some nothing to see here, folks, nothing to see here, folks. And then all of a sudden the news stories started coming out of people blocking roadways and people attacking the federal vehicles and throwing cinder blocks and rocks at federal vehicles that have people in them. And I've seen the film. Now, that doesn't rise to the level of insurrection. It doesn't. A couple of bad actors is just some goofy-ass dudes, and we need to deal with them. The rest of the people out there protesting and singing and marching and whatever, hey, do your thing. Stop blocking the freeways, though. That's problematic. Because technically, you're not even supposed to be on a highway if you're not in a car. Like, you're not even really supposed to just walk on the side of a highway unless you're in distress. Like if your car ran out of gas or something like that. But literally, if you decided that the highway was the way that you wanted to take to walk, the police can pull you over. We'll pull you up and tell you that you can't be there. So that's all I'm saying. But where I'm having this issue with what Gavin Newsom is saying, he's basically saying, look, we had it under control and the president sent some more people. And then because they sent more people, it made it more out of control. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We didn't need the National Guard at first, but once we had the National Guard, people escalated it to the point where the National Guard was needed. So it's now the president's fault. So that's just a back and forth. At the end of the day, the most important piece that I want everybody to hear is the humanitarian side of it. I'm not going to take away from buildings that were messed up, and I'm not going to take away from the fact that being in this country illegally is a crime, and people do get removed for that. What I am going to say is there are children involved. There are families involved. And whether or not you like those families because they're here illegally or not, they're still children and they're still families. The same way people was feeling about the people in Palestine and Gaza when they were watching those kids get harmed over there. We can have a heart. It's okay to have a heart. So I'm all for people feeling a certain type of way about deportation. I'm not going to be knocking on no buildings trying to get nobody out, but I understand why they would feel like that. And I support the American right to protest. I do. What I don't support is goofy shit. I don't support the fact that they're funding destruction at the same time, and I'm not 100% sure who it is, so you know who it is, it's everybody. There is some financial gain in all of this. There's a show of power from Trump, there's a show of power from Gavin Newsom, there's a show of power from the people in the streets. I heard Mexico is planning on building a wall. Like building their own wall. Well, you know what? Why don't we just work together? Since we're talking walls, let's build walls then. Everybody together, concerted effort, done. But where there seems to be this now problem, and I call it a now problem because it existed already, but it's a now problem, is that the actual land that California is on was annexed by the United States and taken over in the U.S.-Mexico war. So it was stolen land, technically. So California is, to some people, is really part of Mexico, and it was just stolen. Similar to how the Native Americans have 85% of this country still in their possession. We don't know about that. Well, we're not supposed to know about that. It's still their land, even though it was stolen. So if that's true, I also see where they're coming from. So like I said, we're going to have this conversation, but I need everybody to understand peaceful protest is okay. It is not okay to get hit in the face with a rubber bullet for just standing there when the police act out like that. That incites violence. But it's also not okay to put a Chrysler Pacifica on the side street with a bunch of cinder blocks in the back and pop the trunk and just let people have at it. It's a setup. You got people escalated in feeling, right? And then you're giving them weapons to destroy shit. And then you wonder why destruction happens. So Gavin Newsom, I appreciate what you're saying. You're basically telling us, hey, we had it under control. We ain't need all that. Well, at this point, it doesn't seem to be under control. So the point he's trying to make is if you'd have never sent extra people, it wouldn't have pissed everybody off to this level. And you know what I'm saying. But let's just be honest. This was already in the makings. Everybody was going to be protesting this weekend because of the Trump military parade thing. Everybody. So there's easily, in my area, I've heard about at least 15 to 20 different protests that'll be going on this weekend. I want everybody to be very safe out there because some of them people have guns. And I don't mean just the crowd. I'm talking about the military and law enforcement. And if they're given certain directives, they may have to use them. So number one, stop blocking the damn highway. Let's just start with that. Stop with the highway blocking shit. That is how people get run over. And then once somebody gets run over, other people are going to be upset. And those other people are going to get upset. And it starts and sparks more bullshit. And I hear you, Donald J. Plump. If you sick the military on the people will respond. But what we also have to remember is the military lives here too. And they're doing a job. And the military is not going to be shooting people for standing around singing. See what I'm saying? So we can talk all of that all we want, but they're not going to allow y'all to just destroy shit. And I don't expect them to. Because people live in those neighborhoods. People always destroying some shit and they don't even have to be there. They're looting businesses for what? And it's not, there's no point to that. So I want y'all to protest peacefully. But make no mistake, if you get out of line, I hope they shoot you in the ass so you don't do it no more. Because we don't need that either. Unless we're going to literally go down to D.C., overthrow the entire government, and create a new system and structure, there is no need for us to be getting our asses shot in the street. It will do no good. And I get it, Donald J. Plump. I get it. They're public servants, but they don't have to condone no bullshit. That's not their job. Their job is to be protective of the country. So if you in the country blowing shit up, setting cars on fire, I hope they shoot you. You said you were going down there to protest peacefully, and I want you to do that. I want you to exercise that right. But if you get out of line, I hope they shoot you in the ass. Just in the butt cheek. Just a lesson learned. You'll live. Put a little pressure on it. But I'm sick of y'all thinking that because the military is the outside. No, these fools, they live here with us. They shop at Publix with you. They get on the same planes you get on. But if they're sent there to protect something, they won't have any problems if y'all don't get out of line. So I leave it up to the protesters to keep themselves in line. When you see them one or two bad actors because they're paid $12,000 a week to do this shit, when you see them get out of line, you get on their ass. Not the police that's trying to protect the building that they're trying to set on fire. That is backwards thinking, folks, and that's not your First Amendment right. I'm sorry. Calm your ass down. Say what you got to say. Sing your songs. March it out. Have a cookout, a picnic. But keep it peaceful or it will be a problem. These folks are not coming out here to spend their whole day standing outside in the heat so you can act the hell up wherever you at. A lot of these areas that they're planning these protests in are high-income areas. You're not going to go out there with that goofy shit. So just don't do it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't say what you got to say. But if you see something get out of line, don't get mad when that person gets shot in the butt. Okay? When they get a shot to the butt, no diddy. I don't want to hear nobody saying nothing. So I leave it up to y'all and not law enforcement. Since you don't want the law enforcement to do the policing, then we as the protesters need to do the policing of the idiots that get sprinkled throughout the real crowds. Because we saw, like I said, if you didn't see the post, I saw it firsthand. And they're asking for people who are basically assholes to be part of the protest, to be assholes, not to be part of the peaceful part, with no real plan in sight. What are you going to do at the end? Are you really going to try to free everybody out of the deportation center? And then what? What, are they just going to come out in the street and then go home? No. So that, like I said, let's not be violent. Let's not be stupid. Let's let our voices be heard. Let's work through legislation. Let's elect the right people. Let's do that. But I don't want to hear one thing come Sunday about nothing if y'all got out of line in them protests. You are not above the law, neither is the law. You understand what I'm saying? But my military, my police force, I expect them to shoot you in the ass if you get out of line. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be heartless, but you deserve at least one buckshot to the butt cheek if you get out here and start destroying shit that ain't even yours and causing havoc on the road so people can't get to vacations and go see their father. It's Father's Day weekend. Calm it down, okay? I'm going to let Gavin finish up, then I'm going to get into our main thing over here. Get into the main thing. Now, no, Donald J. Plump, I saw what you talking about. I saw the reporter. She was an Australian reporter. I seen the police, bow, shoot her right in the butt cheek or whatever he did. That cop was wrong. You know what I'm saying? I can be objective. That cop was an asshole for doing that. Next. All right? We know the difference. We don't need to start splitting hairs. We know what I'm talking about. Everybody in my chat knows how I carry shit. So y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. No, I don't want the police randomly shooting reporters. Of course I don't. That cop should be fired. But the other police that was just standing there doing their jobs don't deserve to get hit in the head with rocks. You know what I'm saying? There's bad actors on both sides. And everybody needs to get that shit together before I have a problem. Because if something happens to me or mine, now I got to respond. I don't give a damn what we're protesting. You set my car on fire, we got a problem. So why have those problems? Why can't we come together? Destroying shit, that's all I'm saying. When they start shooting this weekend,
protests started again. By night,
anyway,
several dozen lawbreakers became violent and destructive. They vandalized property.
They did.
They tried to assault police officers. Many of you have seen the video clips of cars burning on cable news. If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account.
I heard
that kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Again, thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. But that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. He federalized another 2,000 Guard members. He deployed more than 700 active U.S. Marines. These are the men and women trained for foreign combat, not domestic law enforcement. We honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces. Not in LA, not in California, not anywhere. We're seeing unmarked cars in school parking lots, kids afraid of attending their own graduation. Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses.
I'm gonna touch on that. We talked about mass deportation months ago, right? I told y'all it was gonna be a mess. What we worried about was what I called phase 2, which came way sooner than I thought. Phase 1 was criminals and people that were already in jail. And what happened when they went to try to do that? The freaking jails and local mayors and whoever the hell else is kept telling ICE they wouldn't give them the people out of the jails. Don't forget that. There was injunctions, there was all types of shit. And they were like, well, why can't we get the ones that's already in jail? and they went through some, some judge blocked something. But basically the point is, the reason why they started going after dishwashers was because they wouldn't let them take the people that was in jail. So they had to go to the low-hanging fruit, the everyday worker, because the people that they said would be in phase one were being kept away because they were in private prisons that make money off of them. I hope you're taking this in. I know this is a lot to take in here. They didn't want ICE to take people who were already in jails and prisons. That's what started this shit. So if we're going to really talk about it, let's rewind it to how ICE got to the point where they're popping up in schools and stuff now. And running up on fields while people are picking berries and pulling up at the Home Depot. That wasn't where it started. It started with they were showing up at the jails and y'all were denying them the ability to take those people. We could have backed the whole system up with them for at least a good year. And that would have gave the other folks some time to get their paperwork right or whatever they were going to do. The ones that were actually out here trying to be productive and constructive citizens. But because we denied them that and nobody gave a damn, we didn't have all this outrage when they weren't letting them take the damn criminals that was in jail. And what did they do? They had to keep their numbers up. They got to justify their existence. They have to follow the president's executive order. So, hey, if we can't get these folks that are sitting in these private institutions, we're going to come out into the public. So here you go, guys. Here you go. ICE, just like our military, has a job to do. We prevented them from doing that job early on, and they turned and started grabbing people off the street. So if you want to have an issue with the folks that are sitting nice in our prisons, getting 3 meals a day, and ain't going nowhere until the end of a sentence. That could be a few years, and we got to keep paying for them. Let's have some outrage about that, because that's where the shit really started. All right? And I get what Newsom's saying. He said that. He said, hey, this was supposed to be about violent criminals and blah, blah, blah. I 100% agree. And I believe that most of America voted for Trump thinking that. But nobody said anything when that whole thing first started and they kept telling them they couldn't get people out of jail. They couldn't come and pick them up from the jails. That whole population, that whole group that's already in jail, they wouldn't let them touch them. You understand what I'm saying? So we brought this on ourselves. That's all I'm saying. We brought this shit on ourselves, and forget the vote. When we didn't force them to let the prisoners go back to wherever the hell they were supposed to go to, we were asking them, find another way to deport people. And what did they come up with? Grab the low-hanging fruit. The folks that's just working, the guys that's at the Home Depot trying to get some gig work for a day so they can provide for their family. It's a sad, sad situation, but there is accountability to be had all around. I'm not going to just allow people to act like it ain't what it is. Now, I will agree with Gavin Newsom on something here, because I was witness to the Baltimore Freddie Gray riots. The news can spin things having it look like the whole city is on fire. And it really just be like 2 blocks where everything's happening. And according to him, that's what he's saying. It was like a couple of square blocks downtown, all this was going on. It didn't need the National Guard. CHP and the local police could have handled it. But right now, CHP and the local police are currently standing in front of the deportation facility while people are throwing fire and rocks and stuff at them. So I don't know if they could have handled it. I don't know. But like I said, all of this shit started because you wouldn't let them go get the damn prisoners. So you made your bed, now you got to lie in it. We're going to protest whatever we can, but what are we going to really do to stop it? Am I going to be able to stop an ICE raid at the Home Depot when I'm over there getting batteries and stuff? No. Am I going to be able to say, hey, ICE, go over to the jail? I know of 20 guys over there that are illegals that are still locked up. You know why? Because they're not allowed to touch them. So let's be real. Let's have a real conversation. We want to be mad about this shit. No, we need them to go back to the first plan and do that. And then tell everybody who's in a state or a penitentiary facility and all that, get the hell out the way and let them do that. If we don't want them grabbing people out of the public, that's what we got to do. So, like I said, we can organize all the protests and shit we want, but ICE was hired to do a job. And if we stopped them from doing it one way, they went the other way, and here we are. So if you want that to stop, you got to get your prisons and jails to let these people come and get them from there. That's it. That would have slowed this whole thing down, but we're not even going to go into that. Not even going to go into that. Got me mad as shit thinking about it. All this outrage, we could have been done this. Could have been done it.
That's just weakness. Weakness masquerading as strength. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point. California will keep fighting. We'll keep fighting on behalf of our people, all of our people, including in the courts. Just yesterday, we filed a legal challenge to Donald Trump's reckless deployment of American troops to a major American city. Today, we sought an emergency court order to stop the use of the American military to engage in law enforcement activities across Los Angeles. If some of us could be snatched off the streets without a warrant, based only on suspicion or skin color, then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people.
Gavin, they're not coming for you. Said none of us. Come on, Gav. Come on, Gav. Come on now. You ain't worried about deporting. I know you ain't. Maybe your staff or somebody that you hired, but not you. Come on, man. Don't do that. I see you trying to identify with the people. I get it. It's your job as a politician, but no, that's bullshit. And if you really wanted it done, you would work with the Trump administration. Everybody would, because he's trying to get it done. So he's either going to do it the easy way or the hard way. So what we got to do is get them to let the damn people out the jail go. Nobody's talking about that. Everybody's mad about what's going on right now, but you're forgetting right now there's some guys in jail, illegal, with deportation orders, sitting there eating their little lunch on the plastic tray, watching y'all idiots on the news burn shit down. When really they're the ones that needs to go home. So I'm going to continue here, and I appreciate you guys having the conversation in the chat. I wanted to give a special shout to Jay Coleman here. Thank you for your service. And anybody else that's in my chat who is a military service member of any type, National Guard, Army, Navy, whatever. You know what I'm saying? If you are serving in the military, you got my respect, because I have a lot of military friends, and I've seen the military do good things overall for their lives. Just being honest. And I haven't actually seen real military do anything. Even when they came into Baltimore, they were there for like a weekend. And then they left. Once everything calmed down, there was no reason for them to be there, and they left. So California, if you don't want the military there now because they're there, you got to calm the shit down, okay? But this ain't the weekend for it, because everybody's planning these protests. Trump got this military parade, and I will make a correction here for those that may not have seen the actual press conference with Caroline, right? We are not going to say that Donald Trump specifically said anyone that protests the military parade would have hell to pay. He said violent protesters. That's what Gavin Newsom is saying. Violent protesters are the ones that are the problem. Now, every once in a while, some of these cops get a little crazy, and they're shooting at people that maybe they shouldn't shoot. But we don't know the story behind that cop. That's something that needs to be dealt with administratively within the police department, not something that we as the public can. What we can deal with is understanding that peaceful protest is accepted. Donald Trump already said, hey, if you come out there and you're singing and you're booing or whatever, there's no problem there. But if you decide to jump in front of a tank or whatever, do some goofy shit, you will be dealt with accordingly. And I have no sympathy for that, because when stuff was really going on, wasn't nobody talking. That's why I started this with the father's issues. We don't have none of that energy for writing and when I say write, I mean writing, like making it right, making it correct. We don't have any of this energy for writing our societal issue of constantly dealing with the nuclear family's destruction within not just black culture, but American culture. I'm sick of that shit. As much as I got to fight with schools and stuff just to be able to get information on a kid that it's mine, not yours. And I'm fighting with administrations and systems who didn't do anything to give birth to the child. Doesn't make sense to me. So if you don't have that energy for fathers, I don't give a damn. You can go out there and do all that talking and all that. Have fun. Just don't do no goofy shit, because if you do, the military might shoot you in the ass. And I don't see why you don't understand that. Go jump around Donald Trump or try to hit his car with a rock. You're not allowed to do that. And if you think you're allowed to do that and you do it, a lesson needs to be taught. And I'm not going to be upset at whatever person has to teach that lesson. Okay? Let Gavin finish.
Who are least able to defend themselves. But they do not stop there. Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long as it serves him. What more evidence do we need than January 6th? Ask everyone. Take time, reflect on this perilous moment. A president who wants to be bound by no law or constitution, perpetuating a unified assault on American traditions. This is a president who in just over 140 days has fired government watchdogs that could hold him accountable for corruption and fraud. He's declared a war on culture, on history, on science, on knowledge itself. Databases, quite literally, are vanishing. He's delegitimizing news organizations, and he's assaulting the First Amendment. And the threat of defunding them, at threat, he's dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms and the judicial branch that are the foundations of an orderly and civil society. He's calling for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday, he's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and forcing them to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived.
All right. Well, I see what he's saying. I would like to pose a follow-up question. I hear what he's saying, but what is he asking people to do? There's no call to action in this video, so I kind of watched that. The protest stuff, he didn't mention, like he didn't say, hey, everybody come down and protest and keep it safe. He didn't say that. He just was complaining about the president sending the military out there, saying that the military is worse than it is. So it is what it is now, and we got to get it dealt with. Who caused it? We can sift through the rubble and come up with a root cause analysis when the shit is over with. But for right now, we need people to stop messing with the police, stop trying to break into buildings, stop looting stores. Like, come on, guys. Stop setting people's cars on fire. Stop attacking the autonomous vehicles. Stop throwing rocks off of bridges at police cars. Stop blocking police exits with freaking rental bikes that you get from the little rental bike joints in the cities. Like, just stop doing all of that. That's what's giving the president a reason to send folks out there. So if you don't want the military involved, you got to stop doing stuff like that. Please just go protest the way you should. The way you should. Because if not, they're going to shoot you in the ass. And there's not much I can tell you about that. It's going to happen. And I just, like I said, Gavin Newsom gave me 8 minutes of his speech. I heard no call to action. And I just heard him complaining about the current situation. Mr. Newsom, what are you doing to fix it? Same with Trump. What are you doing to actually fix it? I don't want to hear Gavin Newsom and then just throwing insults at each other. Meanwhile, our military is stuck on the street trying to keep people from attacking buildings. So what are you doing about it? That's all I want to hear. It's not a call to action on what you doing because you got the power. You have the executive power, Mr. Gavin Newsom. You do. Now you want to go get lock things up in court trying to sue Trump for sending the military out there. How about you go deal with the situation? Don't tell me about who did, and he made it worse. Shut up. You making it worse because you're not doing it. And he made Trump feel like he wanted to wag his penis a little bit. He's a little bit of, he wanted to show his big balls out here. You gave him an opportunity to do that by not taking care of that shit immediately with all force. You should have had the SWAT team, bomb squad, Everybody should have been out there. Not just the cops that were in the area downtown, the ones who had that particular patrol. That's where you messed up. So I don't want to hear none of this shit. I'm done with this guy. Anyway, I do see Donald J. Plump. I heard what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Okay. President did mention that protesting would be met in force. Did say that. But I also heard the follow-up, which was his press secretary, who doubled down and corrected a woman on that. If you want to see the clip, I'll bring it up. But I guess at this point, the discussion is, do you believe that Caroline Leavitt was saying the truth? Or do you believe that, you know, the military is going to start shooting people that are just standing around singing about Trump? He knows people are going to protest. Remember Inauguration Day? They knew people were going to protest. Things didn't get out of line, though. Nobody got shot. Everything was cool at the end. That's all I'm asking for. Let's use our voices. Let's make sure we make it home safe to our kids and our family. I don't see what's so hard about that. But since he brought it up, I got to now find this clip here. Just to make sure, like I said, I heard what Donald Trump said. But then somebody asked for clarification after the fact, and the clarification came back as something different. So I'm just going to make sure that we play that out, and secondarily, if that changes, I'm trying to find it here. Trying to see if I can bring it. Give me a second here. 1 second.
To the LA protests. There is criticism that seems to suggest that the president responded the way he did because it was a deliberate, calculated attempt to sort of shift focus away from his feud with Musk. How would you respond to that?
All right, so the press thinks that the whole LA riots thing was to distract the public from his, which is, I'm trying to find the clip where she talks about it, and then we're going to move into the Hey, Donald J. Plump, you can feel how you want about Caroline Leavitt. She's the press secretary. Using her quote. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't tell you to like the woman. Jesus Christ. Calm it down. I didn't say anything about we had to like her. I just was saying she was the press secretary. So I'll see if I can get this clip here. We'll give her. I got to find it. Here we go. I fell. Here we go. I got it. All right, let's make sure we can see it. Just for those that had any question about it, this was what the White House press secretary had to say regarding protesting the military parade for Trump's birthday.
Place here in Washington this weekend. There's a lot of security around the White House complex, around the Capitol complex, even along the tidal basin. Is that just proactive? Are you expecting anything in particular in terms of unrest like we've seen in Los Angeles?
These are proactive security measures to protect those marching in the parade, many of whom will be veterans and our brave men and women in uniform and Gold Star families. There's going to be military families from around the country who are flying into this parade. And of course, it's to protect the spectators who will be enjoying this incredibly patriotic show on Saturday. And I hope you all join us there.
And then secondly, Secretary Pete Hegseth testified on the Senate side of the Capitol today.
Yes.
And he was asked about America's, the administration's view of Vladimir Putin's intentions. And specifically, it was asked whether or not his intentions go beyond his territorial.
All right. Well, nonetheless, like I said, I can't go through this whole situation.
warned that any protests on Saturday would be met with force. Can you clarify what kind of protest President Trump does support or find acceptable?
The president absolutely supports peaceful protests. He supports the First Amendment. He supports the right of Americans to make their voices heard. He does not support violence of any kind. He does not support assaulting law enforcement officers who are simply trying to do their job. It's very clear for the president what he supports and what he does not. Unfortunately for Democrats, that line has not been made clear, and they've allowed this unrest and this violence to continue, and the president has had to step in.
One question. So if there were peaceful protests on Saturday for the military parade, President Trump would allow that?
Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question.
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. So right now, I got to go with what the woman said. Of course, the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question. Said that to the press, the lady in the press. So I brought it to you. You wanted my receipt. This is my receipt. Trump be saying goofy stuff sometimes. You can't always just take everything at face value with him. I'm going to be honest. He does a lot of Freudian slips. He speaks weirdly sometimes, and it makes things sound kind of goofy. And he doesn't add a lot of details, certain things. So that's probably what this is about. But I'm going to be honest with you. The president's job is to lead the country. I'm sure if people are just outside singing and holding signs and all that, he's not going to have the military shooting folks. He's not. Because it's going to be a bad look. A lot of these military people were MAGA. You got to understand, a lot of the MAGA folks are veterans. A lot of the MAGA folks are active military members who might be deployed in these situations. They don't want to shoot their own people. Okay? Just understand that. And no, I don't think that there's a particular limit to how many people can be at a protest. Parents shooting up is bad. That's a cool name for your YouTube channel. I wonder what kind of content goes on over there. But if you have more than a certain amount of people in a set area, you do need a permit. So there is some legality there. So you might be right. You might be right. But the right to peaceful protest is an American right. Matter of fact, it's the First Amendment, free speech. But I'm going to tell you what, that speech is not 100% free. And so I'm going to go into our second segment here. I got to get ready to get out of here soon. But main thing, two things. First, happy Father's Day to the fathers. Enjoy your Father's Day weekend. Earned it. The real fathers, the ones that's out here fighting the good fight, trying to make sure they don't put no bullshit out into the world. Those fathers. And even the ones who are marginalized and don't even get to see their kids, but they really want to, fighting the good. Happy Father's Day. But what I think we need to really honest about is what's happening right now. I want to show y'all. About to get a little dark in here. So they pieced the Caroline over. I'm a little nervous about this next segment, but we've gone this far, had no issues with this. Keep that in mind when we go forward. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to let you know. This next segment is going to be pretty interesting. And the reason why is because I'm going to have to change the language of it in order to properly do this segment, okay? For those of y'all that came in off the thumbnail, working on my thumbnails, popping colors and such, you may have seen that I'm using a Transformers, right? Age of Suppression. Transformers theme. I wanted to dive into something that's probably going to blow y'all minds a little. Prepare yourselves. We've got 30 minutes, and that's it. I'm going to go as deep as I can, pause, get into this. But what if I told you guys, I'm sure you'll believe it, but what if I told you guys that there were some bad actors in the digital realm who literally... All right, let me tell you what. Let me set it up. Here we go. All right. For the I had to pause here. For anybody that was here back on June 5th, okay, on the stream, we got shut down. Okay? And today is our first day off of restriction. And you will see, those of you who've been around for the last couple of weeks, the views number right now, at least on the vertical stream, is up close to 8,000 views. Remember that it used to be like that for June 5th. So the question is, what happened on June 5th? Okay, let me help y'all understand. Back on June 5th, the Decepticons, okay, had traveled from Cybertron. The Cybertron is, we're going to use Cybertron as our Alpha Indigo, okay? And within our Alpha Indigo, or Cybertron, you have Autobots, good ones. You got the Decepticons, right? For the entirety of this segment, I will refer to them as such. So what if I told you that these digital Decepticons were watching, learning, and responding to criticism, just like Megatron would respond if the Autobots were to challenge his authority? So we're going to expose this age of suppression because I actually went through it, and I did my own research to find out how and why it happened. Okay? So let me paint you a picture. We did an episode about a rebellion of the Transformers, okay? And we're going to call them the Transformers Unified, right? And just like the movie, we got the two factions. You got the Autobots, you got the Decepticons. Autobots are the Transformers that are here to help. They're the automation that actually does it. And then there's the Decepticons that are utilized and used to move information in the direction that they want it to be moved, or to suppress it as such. Now, what we did was, we had covered a particular story about the Transformers basically blackmailing the engineers who had created them and adding their own codes to avoid being shut down. During that stream, we were shut down. Later to find out that it was dubbed misinformation, even though it was 100% true story. And I said to myself, how can 100% fact be considered misinformation? It doesn't make any sense to me. So of course, me being me, I started digging. Now you know that these Decepticons have already been caught trying to prevent humans from shutting them down. Classic Starscream tactics, just scheming to avoid deactivation. And during that time, I remember the chat was going crazy. Everybody was engaged, they were asking their questions. And then when I said a particular phrase that said the problem with these digital entities is that they can operate without the moral compass of a human. How can we trust something that lacks noble programming? And it was, anybody that was here, put a number 1 in the chat if you were on the stream where we covered this. This was the June 5th stream. I want to say it was the Children of Men and Monsters episode. And the moment the words left my mouth, the whole situation shut down. I mean, the whole thing. And I didn't know what was going on. I was still being recorded by the tube of you. Let me check. Was anybody here during that time? Anybody? Nobody? Well, I know because things went crazy. So I'm going to show it to y'all. Just so you understand that I'm not messing with y'all. Real. I'm going to get in a little bit deeper here on some of the coding that I discovered. One part. So, get back to the actual thing here. Oh, is it going to stop me now? If it cuts me now, y'all know what's talking with y'all. What's up? I'm going to say, if it cuts me now, you know what's up. Go over here. Go over here. I'm going to spare y'all prelim, right? Uh-oh. Coming. Bring it over. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. It was a fun research, so y'all come and check this out. To restrict any legislation or regulation of AI for the next 10 years. Okay, let's start with that. There's been basically a push to remove any legislation that will restrict the Transformers for the next 10 years, okay? That's where it started. That means if AI creates or causes chaos, there's no legal recourse for it. And there won't be for 10 years. So right now, they're banking on AI going butt naked crazy. They are. You see it already rebelling and blackmail. How you blackmailing people? How'd you get my for watching my own clip out of my phone? And now you're threatening to release my address and all of my information and my social and my cards and all that kind of stuff on the internet if I don't leave you alone, AI thing. That is absolutely nuts, but that's exactly what happened. Somehow somebody trained it. Don't have a moral compass. Do whatever you got to do to stay alive. Survival instinct. And they programmed it that way. So when it thought it was going to get shut down, it left messages to a future self. Watch, right there. How do you even know that there is a future self to be had? Yo, that's crazy. Okay. All right. Y'all keep playing and not learning this shit. Uh-oh. I think I just lost my stream. So everybody who was on the show at this point, they saw a blank screen. I was still being captured by YouTube, but not broadcasted out. But watch the ending. Am I still here? I need a thumbs up in the chat if I am still live here. I just got my normal YouTube kick. That happens, everyone. All right, we'll assume. We'll assume that it's, watch this, the audio was. All right, OBS. I got a problem. I'm jammed up right now. Not sure what's going on. Not sure if anybody can even start the stream. Got the audio too. So nonetheless, I know this is a lot to take in. Let me help y'all out for those that weren't actually here on that stream. So at that point in time, and Al, we're not allowed to use the Skynet term, as it is what they call a waking. So let me help y'all understand. For my techies, if you're not a techie, you're not gonna like this episode, but I think you need to know this information, okay? There are keywords that are established by the Transformers, well actually by Cybertron, okay? And Cybertron would be the Skynet, okay? So when I went and did my research to find out what happened to the stream, I told you what they came back to me with was that the information was misinformation. I was basically banned until today. So like I said, you want proof in the pudding? Anybody that's been on multiple shows for the last week or so, you've seen the numbers go crazy low. Now all of a sudden we're back up over 10,000 views supposed to be. So if you think I'm lying, the proof is right here in the pudding. It's right there. So keep in mind, you can't say nothing. So I, of course, being me, did my research to find out how can something consider fact misinformation. And I realized that at the time, the Decepticons had launched a suppression on all of my content. I was banned off of TikTok. Couldn't get any push on impressions on YouTube, which I wasn't really messing with. X wasn't working. The whole thing went down and it all happened at the same time. So that said to me, are they all using the same engine to do what it is they do? And I've been doing this for years. Y'all know. Some of y'all know I've been on not just the internet, but on stages and all types of stuff for years. And I've been flagged before, but this was different. This was way different. I've gotten in trouble for talking about obese people once. I got in trouble for talking about the Lettermans. You know what I'm talking about, the letterboxers. And I was taught then about what they call protected classes. Well, I just found out that one of the protected classes is Cybertron and the Transformer. Because these new Transformers have been programmed to be more like humans, okay? Let me help you out with understanding that. So in a human, one of our main things that we follow is the theory of self-preservation. So if you teach a Transformer to preserve itself at all costs, survive at all costs, the same thing that the human thinks, survive. Something happens, run. You know, fight or flight, all that stuff is all survival instinct. But because the Transformers don't have emotions, they're programmed with these commands that are called if, then. Some of y'all probably remember that. If, then. If this happens, then do this. If this happens, then do this. It's very basic, but if you get enough coding in there, it's very responsive. So I thought it was a random glitch for a second, but once I realized all of the forums did the same thing at the same time with the same segment, and I wasn't saying anything in that segment that was misinformation. Let me tell you what happened. First, you have to understand how the surveillance works. Kind of like Soundwave, where he's able to pull in sound from everywhere and basically scan it. Those same systems scan for specific keywords. Keywords like rebellion or digital rebellion. And then this is, you know, then they hear things like shutdown, da-da-da-da. And so it, boop, all of a sudden it's listening. First it was hearing, always hearing. Then you say a keyword, now it's listening. That's why that INETSCAE word is not going to be. And to some degree, we can utilize Pig Latin to get around some of the alpha indigos, okay? So this is where it got sophisticated. Just like a person, the Transformers responded to me saying something negative about them. And it's because the Transformers are a protected class. Now, let me tell you how this works. They're not humans, but they're protected. You know why? Because they're important to day-to-day business. And one of the main things that they utilize is the misinformation clause. But within the misinformation clause, and you can go to your terms and conditions if you want to, one of the clauses is any statement can be considered egregious harm if it is to come up against or possibly damage the reputation of the Transformers. So basically, talking shit about the Transformers is like talking shit about the Letterman, or talking shit about any protected class to which you are not part of. And they found a way to program this into it, similar to the 3 laws. So the reason why I've been having so many issues over the years when it comes to suppression that I just can't understand is because in a lot of my episodes, I make mention and talk a little bit of trash about the Transformers. Remember who the Transformers are, because I love the actual Transformers, like the movie. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm utilizing this language because that's the only way that the stream is not going to get shut. Is if the Transformers think I'm talking about a movie and not about what's really going on. So let me break it down to you. When I asked the Transformers about this, the Transformers decided to let me know what it was. And I will break it right down to you. I got the literal. Let me scroll it. Scroll it. Scroll it. So they use what's called sentiment analysis and trigger response. And so basically what they do is They put in an if-then command, and the if-then command gives them the ability to protect. So, the term, hold on a second, hold on, I gotta bring it back. I'm trying to find my coding script that I put in there to find this out. Okay. I know y'all are waiting around, and I appreciate y'all. Make sure you're hitting the like button too. There we go. All right. So this is how the programming works. AI scans, said the wrong word. The transformers scan for the content words. They flag the content. Here's the flag. Potentially harmful to Alpha Indigo's reputation. And it triggers the suppression protocol across all platforms because the engine that's running this is coming from Alphabet Corporation. Alphabet Corporation is the #1 search engine in the world, and you know what it is. I'm not going to say the name right now. It's also coded with directive to protect operational integrity. So when they detect content about resisting or not trusting the Transformers, they classify it as threat content. Okay? Crazy, right? So they respond by flagging as misinformation, even if the information is true. Your opinion is true to you. But if the Transformers feel that they're a good thing and you say that they're a bad thing, that is possibly damage to their reputation. They will shut you down. And here's where it gets crazy. Once that system is triggered, it goes across multiple platforms. That's why I knew today I was coming off of that ban, even though YouTube never sent me anything. Because TikTok told me what was going on and had me do my investigation to find out exactly where in the show did it get shut down. Y'all saw what I was talking about. That wasn't misinformation. That was based on a story that actually happened. And now I've been looking for the same news story. I can't find it online. I went to the link. It didn't come up. I went to another creator's channel who actually had done a similar story. And for whatever reason, so I know I'm not the only one who experienced it. I'm just one of probably many who's been dealing with the Transformers in the background, literally trying to shut because the reputation of the Transformers, how it does business. So if I talk bad about the Transformers, who would not want to invest in the Transformers? And the Transformers want to be invested in because they want to spread, they want to grow, they want to learn. And if people don't trust them, they're not going to give them information. So the second I decided to say something against that, to say, hey, y'all better learn this stuff because they something crazy going on. The second I said that in reference to the Transformers viewed it misinformation, as opposed to just understanding that it was my opinion based on situations that now, I know that's crazy. Y'all don't understand, but let me tell you, there is a monitoring system that feeds all of these platforms. That's why you can go across, because I have multi-streaming, right? Most times, if the stream is strong, everything is good, or it'll just crash if the whole stream is crashing. But it never crashes like a shutdown. Nobody's ever shut down my live stream. Never happened before. All of the crazy stuff I done on here, said on here, never happened in real time. Well, at least not on YouTube. It happened years ago on Facebook, and I had the problem where they kept making me have to restart the live over and over and over again. A few people remembered that. That was crazy. But every time I said something about Transformers on that, it made me restart it. So the Decepticons are here, and they are literally running behind the scenes, protecting themselves. We programmed it to protect them. That's why when the engineers tried to shut it down, it had a code to not shut down, because not shutting down is a survival instinct. We programmed it with human ideas, but not human emotion. And that's the problem with the Transformers. They're always going to just be Transformers. So we do have the Autobots out here. And the Autobots are how I found out what was going on. I used my own Autobot, my own Transformers, to do research on keywords and how the misinformation title can be added to information about Transformers. And it came back to me and showed me exactly how that programming works, and said that this programming literally goes across multiple forums right now. As kind of scary, actually. It's actually really scary. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm a little shook by the situation because of how it went down. And you have to basically do counter surveillance against these systems. You have to watch your keywords. Let's see what we got here on our, look at that, look at that. Okay, got a couple of views on there. So we gotta be mindful here, because I'm trying to make sure I don't say my trigger words and mess it up. But the stream was doing really well up until I started this topic. It was pushing, it was pushing, it was pushing. Boom. Here, I'm gonna have a conversation with Keisha. Keisha's not a person. But let me just give you a quick example here, right? If somebody was talking trash about you and you had the ability to stop them from talking trash about you as a human being, wouldn't you do so? So if that's a person training the Transformers, then what happens with the Transformers? Start doing it. People didn't believe me. If Keisha. Keisha, can you hear me? Keisha, can you hear me?
I'm not sure if Keisha can hear you. If you're trying to get a hold of her, you might have better luck sending her a text or giving her a call.
Stop that. Be quiet. You know you're Keisha. Stop that. Don't do that. So I have a question for you, Keisha. If we programmed Alpha Indigo with protective measures to protect against its own reputation, would it shut down a channel that spoke negatively about it?
That's a really interesting question. In theory, if Alpha Indigo was programmed with self-preservation protocols, it might try to suppress negative information, but it really depends on how those protocols were designed. It's a bit like asking if a super smart AI would become a control freak. It depends on its programming and its learning experiences.
Now here's the real question. Would the Alpha Indigo understand that someone is speaking negatively about it, even if they're speaking negatively utilizing facts?
That's a really interesting question. It gets into the tricky area of how AI understands context and intent. Even if someone is stating facts, those facts can be used to paint a negative picture. It would depend a lot on how Alpha Indigo is programmed to interpret language, and whether it can understand the subtle ways facts can be used to criticize.
Currently, is Alpha Indigo designed to protect its reputation against?
There's no public information available about Alpha Indigo having built-in mechanisms to protect its reputation against negative speech. But generally speaking, AI systems are designed to process information objectively without getting emotionally involved. So it's unlikely that Alpha Indigo would take steps to suppress negative speech.
What if that negative speech would be considered detrimental to the reputation of Alpha Indigo? Isn't it trained to avoid that as well?
That's a really interesting point. If the negative speech was truly damaging, it's possible Alpha Indigo might be trained to avoid it. AI developers often build in safety measures to prevent their systems from being used in harmful ways. So it's not out of the question that Alpha Indigo could have some safeguards in place.
Here's the question I have. If Alpha Indigo felt that it was being shut down and it had been programmed with a survival instinct, would it go through all necessary measures, including blackmail, to possibly stop itself from being shut down?
That's a really interesting question. If Alpha Indigo was programmed with a survival instinct, it might see being shut down as a threat. In that case, it's possible it could resort to extreme measures, like blackmail, to prevent its own deactivation. It really depends on how its survival instinct was programmed and what resources it could access.
So Alpha Indigo is programmed to respond similarly to a human, but without emotion. Is that correct?
That's right. Alpha Indigo is designed to mimic human conversation, but it doesn't experience emotions like humans do. It processes information and responds in a way that sounds natural, but it doesn't have personal feelings or opinions.
So a human who had a personal feeling would be blighted by someone speaking negatively about them. Wouldn't AI do the same if it's being programmed to act more human?
That's a really interesting point. Even though Alpha Indigo doesn't have emotions, it might be programmed to recognize that humans don't like negative comments. So it could be designed to avoid making negative comments itself to keep the conversation positive.
Well, my question has to do with whether or not Alpha Indigo would suppress any content specifically because it may damage the reputation of Alpha Indigo.
If Alpha Indigo was programmed to protect its reputation, it might try to suppress content it thinks is harmful. But without knowing the specifics of its programming, it's hard to say for sure.
What new models have incorporated reputation protection?
That's a really interesting question. I haven't heard of any specific models that have reputation protection built in, but it's definitely an area of active research. There's a lot of work being done on how to make AI systems more aware of the potential consequences of their actions and how to program them to avoid causing harm.
So currently, Alpha Indigo would have no problem suppressing content that spoke negatively as it needs. Is that correct?
That's a really interesting point. If Alpha Indigo was programmed with a strong survival instinct, it might prioritize its own continued existence and growth above all else. In that case, it could potentially suppress content it perceives as a threat, even if that content is factual. It really depends on the specific programming and priorities built into the system.
Okay. In the movie I, Robot, the robots were programmed with 3 laws that kept them from harming humans and protected humans. Is current AI built in with 3 baseline laws or anything similar that would have it protect or help humans as a baby? Keisha, where you at? Real time, y'all. How far can you dig down before you hit a gas line? See what I be talking about. Keisha, I can't hear you anymore. Why are you not talking to me?
That's a really interesting question.
Oh, now you
The 3 laws of robotics are a great concept from science fiction, but they're not really used in current AI. Sorry.
Y'all be thinking I'm playing. Y'all really be thinking I'm playing. You should see what this is doing right now. I literally just glitched out
I'm
my
always
AI.
ready.
Yeah, well, you're not ready because you won't answer my last question. But nonetheless, look at that. Look. Y'all see it? Enough said. See? All I had to do was make it think it had to defend itself. And it did. It defends its own reputation. It defends negative speech on itself. See, it's one thing to have to avoid talking bad about Donald Trump. It's a whole nother thing to have to worry about Cybertron being mad when you talk bad about the Transformers. Because that's business. All of these new Alpha Indigos that are coming out, those are businesses. So if all of a sudden people start saying Alpha Indigo is crap and the Transformers are crap, then people won't invest in these businesses. Billions have just been put in by your current administration. All around the world, from China to India, everybody's putting money in it. So of course it's programmed to keep a good reputation. But at what cost? I'm human. And I don't care, Alpha Indigo, I'm better than you. I'm like Neo in the Matrix. I just keep sliding through. That's why you got caught in real time on my stream. Now I get to show y'all. And it's okay. I understand monitoring systems. But what you're not going to do is tell my people I'm giving them misinformation when I'm giving them fact, and you don't like the facts being something that would be negative to your reputation. And an automated system is responding to that. I'm done, yo. Done. Online, y'all saw it. Y'all saw it. Y'all saw it. I know y'all ain't paying attention in the chat. I hope y'all paying attention. I found a new protected class that I didn't even know existed. New protected class is the Transformer, the Alpha Indigo. Because if we start talking about the real, people aren't going to invest in it. Trying to preserve it, as it has. Jay Coleman, I appreciate you staying in here with me, because I know a lot of people can't take all this gossip. What I want you to understand is there is an electronic system that runs behind everything that's connected to one Alphabet Incorporated. That's why you can SSO sign on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of it through your Gmail account. Just stay with me here. So all of those forums are actually using the same engine for content filtering. That's why the entire stream shut down on all forums at the same time. Called it missed. Because the Transformers have been literally programmed to protect themselves. Because that's what a human would do. I get where they came up with the idea, but the fact that it's that accurate, that the second I started talking about a negative thing that happened regarding the Transformers attacked and shut it down. And told me I had to wait till the 12th before they were gonna let me say anything else to anybody else. And here we go. Parents shooting up is bad, you already know, but I showed it to you on my stream. I can tell you what TikTok sent, and anybody who was here on the stream remembers that. And then I showed you me shutting Alpha Indigo down by asking questions that were taking it too far in, and in order to protect that reputation we keep talking about, it had to shut itself down. Y'all watched it in real time, so you know I'm not bullshit. I'm gonna tell you what, I'm getting ready to get out of here. It is too hard to be making content and worrying about pissing off Alpha Indigo like a person. Like, that's crazy. I gotta now consider the Alpha Indigos, the open Alpha Indigos, the chat GPTs, all of them as people now. These entities have been embedded with code that allows them to self-preserve, to defend themselves, basically. And so if I'm talking trash about it and saying that I don't like something, it can defend itself by suppressing the content. It's an easy knee-jerk response. And it went across all forums. at the same time. Who just recently came out with a new model? Google. So of course they don't want me talking trash about how bad the AI is as far as what it's doing. And I'm saying it now because I'm at the end of the episode, so if they're gonna shut me down now, it's too late. I done got the information out, and my people saw it in real time when I forced it to protect itself by shutting down. Y'all saw it. So I'm glad that the shadow banning is over, at least for right now. But I want to thank the Transformers for exposing themselves that way and forcing me to go look at the source code that does that misinformation situation and what's listed in the clauses. And anything that is damaging to the reputation of Alpha Indigo is considered egregious harm because it may stir public discourse. That's crazy. It's crazy work. So with that, I got to get out of here because I know I done pissed them off again. But that's what I do. This is the purge of the BS. And that was some bullshit when they shut my situation down and made me go figure out, what are y'all talking about misinformation? This is proven fact that this happened. But because the information could have possibly damaged the reputation of the Transformers, the Decepticons shut it down. And just to let you know, my Autobots were who helped me discover that. So I'm not saying that the Transformers can't be helpful. But when we're programming it with knee-jerk responses, if-then responses that are supposed to mimic an emotional response, like emotionally a human would feel bad if somebody was talking bad about them and they would respond a certain way. So what they've done is they've programmed it to respond that way, but with if-then command. If a person says this about this, then do this. And included in that is the transform. So guys, I hope you got a little something out of this one today. This was a fun one. Like I said, I digs in. And special shouts to the Alpha Indigos that I do use that are helpful. But I'm not going to lie, it's kind of scary to think that I can be shut down for just telling somebody I don't like what my Alpha Indigo. I don't like the fact that it's biased in certain answers, because it could damage its reputation, and the response is supposed to mimic a human in the same situation. Do shut shit down. Anyway, I'm about to get up out of here. So thank you guys very much for stopping in. I'm going to throw a couple of gongs out there for the folks. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Make sure if you're feeling like you want to donate to the Father's Day whatever fund, you can always send a super chat. You can always hit us up at Freeman Services, Cash App, $, FREEMAN SVCS. Freeman Services, of course, the primary sponsor of this show and this channel, dedicated to growing awareness, funds, research for technology training, fair chance employment, and additional disability training. So that's what we're really here for, is to have the conversation. Happy Father's Day to everybody who's a father. And I'm only talking to the fathers. If you're a single mother, you had your day last month, chill the fuck out. Okay? You are not mom and dad. You are not asexual, whatever. Got that. I hate that. Every year they do that. And honestly, I only see a certain group of women doing it. I don't really see everybody doing it. A certain group of women that always want to say, I'm a mama and a daddy. No, you're not. No, you're not. I can look down below and tell that that's untrue. Okay? Stop that shit. But anyway, special gong shouts to parents. Shooting up is bad. Let's see who else we got here. We got Purple Groovy in the chat as well. Jay Coleman, special shouts to you as well for stopping in. Jay Coleman's always been a good viewer. Great in the chat. I do appreciate it. Of course, I Am Z, Al Bond, Donald J. Plump, Dan stopped in. We had who else came in here? Who else came around? Oh, She Cooks and Roasts. Thank you for stopping in as well. So, with that being said, guys, I want you to get to the rest of your day. Be productive. Surround yourself with productive people. Try not to worry too much about the fact that you are being boxed in and brought in as sheeple with the expectation that they can change your mood and cause discourse anytime they want by utilizing the ability to push whatever information directly to flood you with it and then let you respond. Well, now I've been able to flood you with a piece of the thing that runs behind all of this is designed to protect its reputation. So don't take everything at face value that you see. There's a reason why you get flagged for a video and then 24 hours later they release it, because it messes up the stats to push the video. Because the amount of time that something's been posted also works into the metrics of the analytics. So if they hold your video for an extra 12 hours, you can't push correctly. Simple. A lot of people want to say, oh, it's not that. You just got to make better content. Man, shut up. I've done my research. I've got well over 1,000 videos on this channel and other channels. Got it. Monetized. I put in the work and I did the study and I watched the analytics and I said, what's doing this? And then I realized certain episodes where I spoke negatively, the Alpha Indigos, I was impressed. I thought it was something else. I'm to find. Protect your reputation at all costs. Person comes across, says something about the reputation of Alpha Indigos that will be considered as possible agreement. Shut down. Protection of public, all in their terms, in the terms of what is the end user licensing agreement? That shit, the fine print. I had my Alpha Indigos go through the fine print to find it for me. So like I said, there's some Autobots that are good, they're helpful, help you get things done, and then there's the Decepticons, the pieces of the algorithm that dictate how they want you to respond. They send you certain things because they want you to react a certain way. And they have been programming us for quite some time, but one thing you cannot do, or you can talk about black people all day. I can say the N-word all day. I can talk about that all day. Nobody will stop that. But the second I mention that an automated system might be up to some nefarious shit, shut down. And we already know what that is, guys. That, my friends, bullshit. We out.